And in this Feast of the Epiphany that we celebrate today, we really focus on these three kings, these three seekers. Some say that they might have been astrologists, but they were seekers, they were Gentiles. They were people out of the realm of the Jewish customs. And seeing the star, hearing about this newborn king of the Jews, which even using that term, show us where the king of the Jews is. We know that that is what was written on the crucifix as Jesus was crucified. But where is he? And they traveled miles and miles to finally find him. And what a profound, life-changing experience it was. That moment where they saw that Christ child. At that moment they prostrated themselves, which means gets down on the floor, face down, surrendering themselves. Each and every year in the liturgical cycle, there's one time that the priest and the deacon prostrates themselves on the floor. In remembrance and symbolic remembrance of what we gave our life to in our vocation. That's on Good Friday. As we enter into the church, the priest and the deacon get down on the ground, surrendering themselves and their lives once again in that year to the mystery of the Passion of the Cross. That profound moment, though, for those three kings, those three wise men, again, is a moment where they recognize the light of the world in their presence. All of us in our lives, we have moments, and life is full of moments. Whether it is the moment of the birth of your first child, or the moment when you realize that you found the love of your life, or the moment when you realize that the job that we're in, or that you're in, is not going to pan out for the livelihood of our family, and there's going to have to be a change. Or the moment when you realize that my sinfulness or my addiction is too much, and I need to surrender myself to God and ask for His mercy. There are all these moments that can be life-changing moments that are pivotal, that make us who we are. But at those moments, if we can discern, if we can look interiorly at ourselves and realize that these are indeed part of our life, I hope that we can do what those wise men did, the three kings did, and just prostrate ourselves. We give it all to the Father. Whether it's a joy, whether it's a struggle, whether it's an addiction, whether it's a time that we realize, I definitely need to make a life change to make ends meet. Again, we prostrate ourselves, giving it all to Christ, but we don't stay there. So if we just prostrate ourselves and we just play dead for the rest of our lives, that doesn't work. We're called to continue to move. The wise men prostrate themselves, offer their gifts, and they return a different route. They make a change. All of us in these epiphany moments that we have are indeed called to make changes. Life is full of changes, and us as human beings don't like to change. But if we're truly living the gospel message and truly recognizing epiphany moments in our lives, change is indeed necessary. But we have to recognize indeed that we do still have our gifts to offer. We don't change in our own livelihood. We use our gifts, we use our very self, and we change in the way the Lord wants us to change. Obviously bettering ourselves, bettering how we love, and bettering who He indeed is calling us to be in the vocations that we have in our life, but it can indeed be scary. But these moments are such blessed moments in our life, we can never lose sight of them. Because once we have these big epiphany moments sometimes and say, okay, I'm going to change my life, and then 3 months later we forget about it. We need to recognize and keep them always in front and center, because it was indeed Christ entering into our life. Now the Feast of the Epiphany also, on this very day, we recognize that the three kings came into the house of Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Mary and Joseph welcomed the foreigner in. These kings were Gentiles. These kings were not Jews. They were seekers. And Mary and Joseph welcomed them into their house. And so always on the Feast of the Epiphany, there is a tradition of blessing homes and recognizing that our home is indeed a place where the Lord dwells within our families. Like I said last week in the homily, my parents always had that thing on the wall that says, "For me and my house, we will serve the Lord." There is something so special, so sacred about the place where we dwell. And so every year on the Epiphany, there's a great tradition where we bless the door, the entrance door of our homes, to remind us that we indeed are the light of Christ for all that enter into our house, and we should be showing them that love, so that as they leave, they should feel in a way changed, that they should go out and want to proclaim the gospel by the way that we have showed them love, the way that we have shown them hospitality. So that's what this is in the front of the church today. It's chalk that we're going to be blessing at the end of Mass. So we all go back to our own households. We take that chalk, and I even give you a little bit of instructions on how to do this. But the three wise men's names were Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. That's by tradition. I don't think it was written in the Bible anywhere, but those are the three names of the wise men. We consecrate our homes for the year 2019, asking the Lord to bless those that come into our house, and that we have the hospitality and the grace to treat them as we would welcome Christ into our own homes. So at the end of Mass, we will be blessing the chalk and bring them back to our own households. And again, our households are the domestic church. And we learn to pray and learn how to gather together in worship again, not just in our church here at St. Mark's, but in our own domestic churches wherever we live. So on this great feast of the Epiphany, may we bask in the moments that the Lord has given us to recognize His very presence, surrender ourselves entirely to Him, and say, Lord, let it be done unto me as you will. And then we go forth with our gifts, with our talents, as changed people, recognizing that we indeed have met Christ, and through our entire lives get closer and closer to Him by the changes that He is asking us to make, so we grow greater and greater in His love.